Hey there, it's Boots Owen here. This is my relatively new car. It's a Volkswagen Golf V-Dub with an SDI 1.9 engine. It's an AQM engine, apparently, according to the logbook, so I guess we'll find out if it is. I've bought a timing belt and pulleys, timing belt kit. There's some numbers for it. It should fit according to this, 1.9 SDI. Bora and Golf, same thing. Hopefully it fits. I've got to get into the engine, but first I've been told I've got to get the wheel off and get the cowling off in there, so I'll jack the car up and put it on a stand. So there's the stand underneath the subframe. Bit of rust there on that link. Don't really want to touch that. There's an anti-roll link there. It's a bit rusty, but it's just past its MOT, so I've no issue with this. I've got to get off this auxiliary belt, so that's is it a water pump belt? I don't know, this multi-ribbed V-belt here. So I was expecting there to be a piece of plastic here, and maybe there was one and it's missing, and I also wondered would there be like a cover underneath the engine, but I don't see one, and so if there isn't one, there isn't one. It might have been plastic, and I don't really know anything about it if it's not there. So somehow now I've got to get off this belt here, which is, there's a tensioner somewhere. I think this is a tensioner. So I'll have to loosen that up and get in there. I'm not sure what that looks like, a power steering pump maybe? We'll get in there at that. That's metal, that arch there, so that's not going anywhere. Oh, and then the other thing up on top I have to take off. The other thing up on top I have to loosen off these devices here. Presumably it's those two bolts and these two screws, and get these water bottles just out of the way. You need a bit of space to get in, and then the other thing, so another few things, take off this cover here. So there's a screw under here like this, and this screw is missing on this one, so I'll take them off and you have to pull out this to get it off. I'll do that now. Put the screwdriver, pops that off. This is a 10mm. Another one at the back here, and there would be a third in front, but obviously it's missing on this one. And pull out this plug. You can check the oil if you want, but it's not part of this job. And lift this off. It's just got a rubber grommet in here that needs to be popped off. Set that aside, put this back in so the dust doesn't get in. Then that's the timing belt cover there. So let's get these auxiliaries off here. A couple of screws at the back here. And they're not going to be too hard to get out. Another one in here. I think I'm not supposed to disconnect any of the hoses here. I'm just supposed to loosen everything to give me a bit of wiggle room. Now, down below I need what looks like a 15mm or something. So in down here is a 16mm. Hoping I can get that easily enough. Although, I don't think I need to take that bracket off now. Looking at it, I think I need to take off this thing up on top. The reservoir, which has an Allen key on it, which is easier to get off, I presume. Oh dear, that's not going to want to come off. The 5mm Allen key, if I can wiggle it in there. That's it, it's loose now. There we go. This is the kind of thing that I wouldn't have thought of doing, but I found a guide online, and if you search for VW timing belts, it just came up. I'm not sure where to put these things. So the fact that they're loose is one thing, and then the other thing that what we're ultimately going to have to get to is this piece of aluminium here, because that is an engine mount from the side at the top, and the belt has to go around that somehow. And so to get that off, I'll have to jack the engine from below later on. Oh, it's all fun and games. Auxiliary drive belt. next. So down here underneath, this is the auxiliary drive belt, and I've just got a spanner. It's a 16mm on this tensioning arm up here, and by lifting it up, it untensions the belt. Now we just need another hand. With my other hand, yeah, I can loosen that off. Remember the path the belt takes, and that let the tensioner down there like that. Then that belt is off, and we can have a look at that. That would be a very easy repair to do, but for now, that Gates belt 6PK905, I might buy a spare one of those. That belt looks in pretty good order. Up here is a vacuum pump, and to get in there, there's a 13mm screw. There should be a few of them. Another one below. And there should be one over the far side here. And in behind this is a place where we can use a locking tool later on. So this is a vacuum pump, I think, and that's it. Very easily just comes off. There's a little O-ring seal, not an O-ring, but a gasket, I suppose you'd call it, in there. Keep that safe. Just put that up on top for now. And then in there we can see a bit of oil. Let's wipe that off. Clean rag. And then we can see the end in here. So down here we can see the end of the camshaft, and it has this slot in it here, and that slot will take a tool for locking the timing. In anticipation of this job, I got this toolkit, and it has a number of locking tools. This is a camshaft locking tool that we won't use on this one, but this one here is a camshaft locking tool that locks this camshaft apparently, and we need this screws here to tie it on, and we need this pin to lock the diesel pump or the injector pump, and we need these tools for tensioning up the belt later on. The rest of the tools are for other models of, I think, 1.9 or 2 litre diesels. This kit was about 15 or 25 quid, some price like that. I'll post a link to one on Amazon if I can find it, or you can have a look on eBay and see if you can find it. I'll post a link below in the comments so you can go out and get a kit like this if you need it. To be able to see the belt, you need to get in here, and there's a clip down here, there's another one on top. You just clip them off. This is the belt cover. Might need a little something to poke this with. There's one more somewhere down here, I think. Maybe not. Maybe there is, right down at the back. So down in here there's one more clip that I can just about see. The tip of that screwdriver. I should be able to pop that off. There it is. That might let me in. There it is. Okay. And now we can see the timing belt, and you can look at that and you can say, that's got loads of cracks in it. And I had a look at it, and I think it's the original one. This car has 99,000 miles on it. I think that may well be the original timing belt. So up here, we've got an injector pump belt, 3 screws around the outside, but we never loosen the center one. Tensioner is in here, and this is the camshaft pulley up here. And there's another idler down below somewhere. But we need to get in a bit further now, and we also need to adjust the timing so that we can set it. In here you can see there's little slots cut, and one of those slots will line up with a locking pin when we rotate it around. So we've got to get in below and rotate this crankshaft until the locking bar fits here and the timing pin fits into the belt, into the pulley over here. So this bolt in the center is on the end of the main crank, and it's got a 19mm head on it, and for every 1 revolution of this I think the cam should do 2. So I'm kind of guessing that where I'm going here is I need to just rotate it a bit and check up above. So you see that's come around to vertical nearly now. The slot is vertical. Just need to go back and do a bit more. It's not actually that hard to rotate. I thought it was going to be a lot harder for a diesel. I guess when we come over compression it is. To do it a little bit more and check, and it's only moving a tiniest amount, so I'll keep going and do this off camera. So now, I haven't checked the cam locking tool yet, but you can see my spanner here. It's a ratchet bar on the big end, on the crankshaft bolt, and then up here on the diesel pulley, in this slot up on the top, you can see there's a slot cut in there and that, and then in behind there's a hole. And so this is a really tight fit for this tool, and you can see I'm still off a little bit, but I have a feeling I might be able to nudge it by hand. But what I'm hoping is now when I go over this side, that this will be as bang on to horizontal and it's not far off it. So I think if I can get that diesel pin in, we'll be right for locking it up. So this is a really tight fit. Can't see from here at all. The phone is down lower, so it's easier for it to see. I think it needs to come clockwise just a tiny amount. The tiniest amount, maybe. Try again with this pin. Let's have a look in there again, see if I've gone too far. Oh yeah, you see, too far. So, I wonder can I do it by hand up here? Probably not advised, but what do you do, hey? If I'm going that way, I wonder if I nudge it with my foot from below. Can I get in there with my toe? Yeah, actually that's not going to be too bad. I can just nudge it with my foot, hopefully. Or maybe do it from above, up here. So reaching down. Maybe that's a better way of doing it. So it's just the tiniest amount is all I want. Get this locking pin in. Get this locking pin in. So this is a 6mm Allen key. It goes in quite happily, so I've got a 1/4 inch drill bit, which is 6.25, I think, 6.35, something like that. Let's see if we can get it in. I was pretty sure I needed a 7mm pin, but this is a 6.25 and that's smaller, so that looks like 6mm, so that doesn't instill confidence in me. I don't think it'll be an imperial size here, so that's too big, that's not going to go. So I presume the 6mm pin is correct, so then I'll get a 5.5mm drill bit and see. I thought that locking pin was 7mm, but it's not. It looks more like 6. So here's 5.5, and that goes all the way in. So 6. The other thing I wonder is there a little burr on the end of that? So I'll get a file and tidy it off. So this is all part of the fun of buying unbranded parts off the internet. There is indeed a little burr on the end of that, so I'll knock that off. And so if it was a difference of a tiny amount, that burr might make all that difference. It feels very close. It's getting stuck in there on something. Just can't tell if it's right or not. Very tight, which is good. Let's take a look again down below. So it looks like it just needs to come on the tiniest bit more to get stuck in there, you see? Putting pressure on the spanner down below, on the ratchet. Trying to wiggle this in. Like, it's so tight you can't even twist it. I don't want to go too far. Just about twisted out there. It's hard to know if it's in or not, that's my issue. Because it's so tight, I don't know if it's getting stuck on the way in. Yeah, so wiggling with the pliers, I'm sure it's going in, so it's not going to get any tighter than that. I think I've got to be happy with that. So hopefully this locking bar should just fit in on the lock. A 5mm Allen key thing. Allen key, even. I've got this rag here because there was oil coming out as I was turning over the engine. One of these pins in all the way, and this should slide on, and that locks in perfectly, which is excellent. And then this just screws on here. Hopefully it'll stay in. Is it correct? It's a little bit. A little bit tight again. Get this all the way in. See, it's in on one side, but not completely on the other. I think it is. I think it's right though. I think it just needs a bit of a tap again. I'm just hitting it lightly with the handle of a screwdriver to get it to go in. It wouldn't go in at all if it was off. It's just very snug, which I'm quite happy with. I'd rather it would be snug than loose. So we'll leave that there then. That's good. Then I think it's a matter of untensioning the belt and removing this whole block here. Jacking up the engine first, maybe. Looking in here, this plug again, I think maybe I've changed my mind. So looking in here at this hole again, so looking in here at the flywheel, you can see that line there, and you can see that little kind of darker coloured black triangle above it. Let's get the screwdriver in there. So there's the line on the flywheel, on the rusty flywheel, and then above it on the threads there's a little triangle, and I'm going to say that that's the mark for the timing of the crank. Looks okay to me. So with the camshaft set and the diesel pump set, I'm going to take off the auxiliary belt here. Down below I've got an Allen key. Now that's going to move it, so I need to get a pin spanner up on top there. I have this tool here, and it's like it's a pin spanner, adjustable. I wonder if that'll be enough. So if I take this off here, that'll be enough to hold it in place. Well, if it goes in. Here we go. Nope, it's moved. Alright. But if the locking pins are all in place, are we putting pressure on them? I don't know. I don't know. Or is it just taking up slack on the pulley, tensioner pulley? I don't know that either. Need a little hammer. There's no moving. Something moving there. Ah, that's sore on the hands. I suspect an impact wrench would be the way to go on a situation like this. Ow! Keep picking my hand off that other pulley. Don't like the way that feels. Ow. One last one. Pins are still in above, so can't judge it any better than that. I think an impact screwdriver would be the way to go here. Battery powered one, but I've got the airline. I could use the airline on stuff like this, but I didn't. In my imagination, this pulley will come off over the... What I think is this pulley will slide off over this central bolt, because I'm not really sure that I want to. I think it's a. I'm not really sure I want to take this off because it's a stretch bolt, I think. It's hard on the hands that when the screws are so tight. So this pulley here, I think, sits on the outside of the shaft of this, but it's difficult to see. It doesn't want to just come off. So it's a minute later in the video, and in reality it's an hour later. I've been letting penetrating oil sink in. This aluminium pulley with a rubber here and then steel in the center, which is kind of free to float. The aluminium goes all the way through to this aluminium. You can see I've bashed it here with a hammer. This just sits on the shaft of this bolt here and what's behind it, and it should just slide off, but of course it's been on here for 16 years or so, so it doesn't want to come off. You don't want to take out this bolt here because that's a different issue altogether, so you just have to get this off somehow. Now pulling it doesn't work. I tried putting a pullers on it, didn't work. There's nothing to grip on. Nothing at all. I'm kind of nervous of putting the pullers on it because these are aluminium and they just snap off. So I'm going to try hitting it with a hammer again now that the oil has had a moment, and I'll just keep hitting it and giving it oil and hitting it again and see what happens. So it's 10 minutes later and I've been working it with a hammer. And I've noticed that left to right, down, I can't hit up because there's metal in the way. It's moving a little bit, which is good. This is the stuff. This is the part of the job where when you don't know what you're doing, you really just want some kind of a benevolent uncle to come along and go, oh yeah, I remember doing that before, you just do this. And they show you and it just goes clink in your hand. But of course that doesn't happen in reality. And now I've got flywheel pullers on it, and I said already I'm cautious about this because it's on aluminium. But if it's moved a little bit, I can give it a little bit of stress and see if anything happens, and if it does, we can wiggle it back and forth again. But like it's not the right size of pullers, and that's just how life tends to work with these things. Pulling the pullers sideways like that is not the thing to do either, but I should have said it's a brass hammer. All of these aluminium bits are kind of rotating about the shaft, and the shaft isn't moving, so spent an hour reading the forums. There's a bit of, you know, there's a thing where you've got aluminium on steel. They can both just rust together, and that's where you're getting stuck on. Let's try it again. So like this could be a video in itself, how to get this part off, and it may well turn out to be in time if I get the urge to edit it separately to the rest of the video, because this is the bit that I want to see in a video. I don't, the rest of it, you know, you can find it, and I find sometimes it's easier to read instructions for long processes like this. You want to watch the video just to see could you do it, and then you want to see the description, you know, on paper to see is it the kind of thing that you'll tackle. This is a really old, really cheap pullers that I have stressed out on many occasions. There it is. Oh yes. Oh yes. Now, is it going to come off the whole way? I saw it move. I did. I saw it move out. I have to put it back in a few times and stretch it out and on and off a few times. That's just how these games go. Yeah, I'll put it a little drop more of oil. This is WD-40, but this can, I found the back of a shed, and it's an oldie. So I'm wondering if it's got some more. Yeah, see that's wiggling right around. Oh yeah, that's getting looser. And there it's spinning now, that's good. Oh, we're off. That's all it was. Like I said, the mating face is tiny. It's only about 5-6 mil thick in there. But if it's covered in schnotz, it's covered in schnotz. Steve Wallace would say, time for step 2. It's only 12 o'clock in the morning. So then, while I'm down here, I'll get these other nuts off and hold the lower cover on. You can see the bottom of the timing belt there, and I'm back to saying to myself again, yeah, it is. It's a ratio of 1 here to 2 up there. Now there's a markup on top there that you can't see. I'll show it to you in a minute for timing this end of it. I'm not really sure if it's any good or not, as marks go. You need to time it somehow though, and I think there's a locking tool you get to go in here as well, so Okay, that's the bottom of it off. There's another screw further up, I think. So we'll get this fuel filter off as well. I think to do that, I've got to take off these screws here. There's another one in here. Get this plastic bracket out. That will let me get in the screw under there. I'm trying to take my time at this job. It's not a job that, you know, that a novice can just pick up, and I really would say I'm somewhere between a cowboy and a novice. I've done the timing belts. I've done one timing belt twice on the Volkswagen Transporter T4 ABL engine. And so this is a different engine. And hence, it's not so much about taking the doing the timing belt part, it's about knowing what to take off to be able to do it. So I'm supposed to unclip all of these hoses in here. Come on. Diesel pipes. These clips don't want to move. So in here there's these clips that hold the diesel hose in, and they're plastic and probably not been released in a long time. Ever, perhaps, you know? Don't want to damage the hoses. There's one off. Come in from below and push the top one up. I should have done that before, but let's see how this goes now. I don't like this kind of stuff, because they don't really come out of the way. So the sediment on the bottom of that tank doesn't look healthy. This is strapped onto this one, so they need to come together. Around the back of the timing belt there. Lift it up. It's clipped onto something here. So we take this off. We never want to go back on again. Go. Get out of the way. Diesel filter, get out of there. Okay. That's better actually, you do need to do that to see what's going on here. So I need to jack the engine from below now and take off this mounting block here, which also hasn't moved in 100 years. So I've got a jack in there to the sump. Probably not ideal, but that's the way it is. Let's try and get these bits off. If we start over here with this support, mostly because it looks like a 13mm that I have that spanner on hand for. The wrench. I don't need to take that out, I'll just slide it around to the side, put this back in here so I know where it's come from. These look like 15s or something. So they're 18. 17's loose. 16 feels right. So I got the two here loosened pretty easy, but this one is a different beast. I've got it on the breaker bar, which is pretty amazing. You see, they're going into aluminium. So, 2-foot breaker bar, teach you how to do it. Now that engine might be resting on itself now. You know, and these will have had vibrations on them for years. So here's this piece as it comes out, and it's a big rubber mounting thing inside there. Just put it up out of the way. Then I think we've got to get this piece off. There's a couple of screws, God knows how to get that one out. I think I have to jimmy the engine up and down a little bit to try and get it off. So that's this one loose. There's a bolt in there. There's another one down here somewhere or something. Yeah, there it is. I'll have to get that one out as well. There's another nut holding, another bolt holding that bracket on, and this time it's a 13. So we'll get that off. And then hopefully this will wiggle up. All comes together. There's 2 bolts. Does it come out? To come down a little bit, it might am I brave enough? Up more? I don't know. Let's try up more. Pulling on things then, you don't know what you're pulling on. And we'll probably work around that. Okay, there's a little 10mm in here for the... There's a little 10mm in here for the cover. That's the cover, middle, and the cover lower comes out. I think this is the timing mark up here on top. I don't know. Right, we've got that one, which is our tensioner. And we've got this one, which goes down here and is our idler in there. There's other idlers as well, but I don't know why this one's the only one that they seem to want. It is what it is. So we've got this pin in, we've got the lock on the end of the camshaft on the far side, and we've checked that the crankshaft on the end of the flywheel, that the timing marks are aligned. They are, so we'll go to loosen this. We're about to take off the timing belt. Nearly halfway there. Loose, loose, loose. don't loosen the one in the middle. Okay, I've got to loosen off this thing over here. Looks like a bigger one. Maybe a 19mm, looks about right. And I need to brace that somehow. So I've been told this is the way to do it. In the past on the van, what I did was I put a massive spanner onto one of the lobes of the cam, which is a kind of silly way of doing it, but it worked too. Let's get this on tight and then just, oh, it moved a bit, you know. Right. Come on, it's a little bit loose. That's loose now. Slacken that off I'll put it in tight and slacken it off a turn. So this is the unofficial method, and it's a bit difficult with this plastic in the way. So tighten it right in, bring it off a turn, and then it should take a smart tap with the hammer. Nope. Bigger hammer. This bit of plastic here is not my favorite buddy. That's it. So that's loose. It just pops off. You can see that it's popped off there. There's a special pullers you get that goes on it somehow, but it's obviously easier to do it that way. This bracket's still floating around in space. There's no easy way to get that out. I would like it to come out, but it doesn't. So just have to work around that, and I think I'll be able to. So this tensioner is next. Let's just check the timing marks again for my own peace of mind. This pin is still in, hasn't come out. It's still very tightly in. This bar is still in, locking, and that's good. That's what we like. And then underneath, that timing mark is still at the top, which is good. Well, then it should just be a matter of releasing the tension on this, slipping off the old belt, slipping on the new one, and well, replacing the tensioner as well. Sounds really easy. Loosen this off. A turn. Now. That's tightening it. Looser. There we go. That's loose. That's as loose as it's going to get, I'd say. So this is a special tool. I've used pin spanners in the past from bicycles, the ones that you use to open flywheels on bicycles. They work, and you can do a thing with 2 nails and a screwdriver as well if you want to just stick 2 nails in the holes and use a screwdriver. Now, belt off. It'll come off with all of these ancillaries sitting up on top of it. If you're going to renew the belt, or replace the belt even, if you're going to replace the belt, you want to write on it what direction it was going, but I'm not, so I don't care. Just got to get it off. This bracket here is not helping me at all. I wonder if I can get it back in temporarily or something. Maybe if it's up like that, it'll be better out of the way. There we go, it's off that side, so let's bring it off all the way around then. So this camshaft pulley is free to rotate, but it doesn't matter because it's locked on the other end. Just slip it off. So here's the new belt and the old belt. I'm in the garage now. The old belt, you'll be able to see numbers on it. It's got VAG stuff on it there. You gonna focus? It's a Volkswagen Audi logo. Can't see numbers on that really. I'm sure there are numbers there, but I can't see them. The replacement one looks a lot healthier, so you can look at that. The old one on the left, new one on the right. Do not crimp, of course, shouldn't be poking it like that. This is the one I have, Motoquip VTB 674, and there's a number 250-14112H. There's another number. So then this tensioner's got to come off. This bracket's in the way. Really doesn't help me here at all. There it is. Okay, that's it. It's out of the way now. The belt gone, it falls down a bit. I need to remember that to get it back on again. So there's a nut. Just pull off, and it's got a little tooth up on the top. The kit I got didn't come with a new stud or nut, so we're not going to fit one. They are the same. These are basically just a huge ball bearing in a pulley housing. Let's try and see where this pulley thing goes. There's a little slot there for it. That's it, it's in now. Get that nut back on. And just check that that little tab is in position in that slot, because if it's not, I'll find out about it later. Bring that up finger tight for now. Then I've got this pulley here as well, this idler, which is this one. Feels a little bit loose down there, so it's worth replacing. So let's see if we can see what size that is. What would you say? Let's get a socket on it and get it off. 18's too big. 17 maybe? 16 maybe? 16 feels better. We're gonna have to remember to torque this correctly now, so there's one grunt. Should do it. There's the old one. There's the new one. New one's got a much bigger bearing in it, which is good. They do look to be the same size fitting on the back, so that's good. Same diameter. There's a bit of play in this old one. New one feels better. That's good. Let's offer it back in. I'm just using the same bolts. I haven't got any new bolts for this job. That may or may not be the right thing to do. Sometimes these things have stretch bolts fitted. But what are you going to do? If you don't have them, you don't have them. So, can't use them. A bit strange that these little pulleys, you can't see it, but up here there's one, and there's one in here. Little idlers, they don't come with spares for that. They come with the big spare, the big idler. Don't really understand that, but that's how it is. Torque settings. I kind of don't like doing this because the engine's not sitting anywhere, it's just sitting on the ground. Sitting on a jack. Okay, I think that's tight enough. New belt. The belt doesn't have a direction. Get it on over that crankshaft. Down the bottom. If I can. Halfway on maybe. Then over the idler. Proving more troublesome than I would like to understand why. Come on, what's wrong with you? Looks like it's there now. Over that idler we've just fitted. Around this idler. Trying to check, see that it's actually on, because from here on we want to keep it quite tight. There we go. Around this pulley, and I've set this pulley to halfway on the, just tighten that up somewhat. I've set it so that they're halfway along the slots. There we go. Now around the idler here, tensioner idler if you want to call it that. Push it on here a bit more. And then bring it up over the camshaft with all this other stuff in the way. Try a different game here. There we go. And we're all on. I need to put that pin back in where it was. I don't know if that's the right way to do it at all. It's not really. Back in tensioner clip. Does not strike me as being the best way to do it. That's in. It's not the right way to do it at all, but okay. So So with the belt back on, let's see if I cocked everything up. It has moved a little bit, so I'll try and jimmy it back a little bit. I'm just putting a spanner on the end of it here. It doesn't want to go because I've beaten the snots out of it earlier on. A little bit too far, I would say, the other way. Okay, one more. That looks about right to me. That looks about where it should be. This is still in. It's important. And the pin is still in. So let's tension up the belt with this thing and check it again. Airplane overhead. Let's try this tensioning thing again. So with that loose, get this on, up and over. I'm doing it the wrong way around here. Really need to come from behind. Now there's little, it's very hard to describe here. In the center of this there's a little indicator, and so there's a notch here on this piece, and there's a little indicator here, and they should line up. You see? So they should line up. Then I should tighten this, and then I'll put tension on the belt and pull it off again, and we'll see if it works and resets to where it was before. So I'll hold that where it is there, tighten this up to the appropriate torque. Okay, and put some tension on the belt somewhere. Not sure where. There's no real long runs to get a bit of tension on it. And it comes back to the notch again, which is what you want. So we'll tighten it up, check the marks, turn it over, check the marks, check the tension, all in some order similar to what I've just described. This one's meant to be, I don't know, 45 Newton meters or something. Feels about right. Let's check the timing mark back here. It's shifted a wee bit. Looks okay to me though. 13 mil. I guess in theory you could shear the locking pin. I'm just doing it against the locking pin, which is probably not the best idea. Probably some kind of a holding tool that I haven't got. Okay, that's that. What else is there to check then? Check the tension again, down here. Looks like it's coming back pretty good actually. Kind of conscious that I'm putting this load on it and it's sitting up on the jack. that's sitting back in okay. Check that one again. Yeah. Check this one again. Yeah, I think that's it then. I'll check my timing mark again over the other side. This is the bit I'm always a bit nervous about. See, that looks like it's shifted to me a little bit, but I don't know if that'll actually... Oh, it does look like it'll matter a bit. I wonder if that's just in tightening it up. Yeah, it's still under the arrow, you see. It's parallax whenever you're looking at it from above. I'm going to try turning it over now. Take out the pins and locks and turn it over. I don't know if this one should really be so stiff. The other times I've done it, it wasn't. I'll find out in a minute. Nearly there. There it is. Clip on the end, slide it out. That's it. Slide it out. Timing marks down below, we've just checked that. Up here you'll be able to see me on the spanner below. And I want to just make sure these pipes aren't rubbing here. Which of course they are. There we go. Gloves on for the knuckles. So I've turned it over twice. Let's just see if these pins will go back in again. Yep. Stiff, but it's going in. That bar is just almost, no, not quite right there. Too far, too. Well, let's take a look down below. I might not have turned it right. Yeah, it's just a little bit too far. I'll bring it back a slight bit. Bring it back the tiniest bit more. Not bad. Will this fit? Yeah, that fits in now. Perfect. I have no idea why this pin is so tight. See, if you look in there, you can see. Is it slightly misaligned? What do you think? I would say it is. I might need to do this again, because I don't think that's great. So you can look at it this way and it looks okay. You can look at it that way. Hard to say. Tensioner's still alright. I wonder would it run like this? That'd be the interesting check. Let's just have a look down here again. I could afford to bring that back ever so slightly. Like that. See, that's, yeah, I think we're kind of within the realms of possibilities here. Let's try it here, see if that pin goes back in. See, that's on tight now, so I wonder, see, that's a way off now, so I bring that back a bit. Back a bit too far, I reckon. Well, it's closer. The camshaft locker tool is correct. It's just this diesel pump pin. And I don't think that's correct. So I think what I need to do is adjust this again. So that mark's gone way over to the side there. Try and line that up a bit better. More maybe. That's better. Okay. So what upset me before was that the pin wouldn't go straight back in here, and I think that was a red herring because this pin is just really stiff. But I broke the taper on the cam wheel, camshaft pulley. didn't release the tension when I was doing this. Okay, let's check the setting. Locking bars on the end of the camshaft, so that's alright. So then let's take the, well, let's just check the flywheel again. Yeah, it's still nice. It's still nicely centered. Camshaft. Okay, that's still good. That will just fall in or out, so that's good. Let's take that out then. Let's take out this pin. It's actually able to be moved out this time, which I'm quite pleased with. Either means it wasn't in right, or let's have a look in. It is lined up, you know, but it's awful tight, that one. They're tight. That's tight. That wasn't loose. I didn't adjust this. So check this tensioner. Tensioner returns each time to the notch, which is perfect. I'll give it a couple of turns over from below, 2 turns over again, and we'll check it again. So I redid it all. I've got it to where I think it's right. I've turned it over twice again. It's still right. Then I put this bracket on and realized, oh no, that's wrong. So put on the covers first, then this bracket. Duh. And then we'll put on the top cover later, but yeah, you need to put on the bottom cover and the middle cover before you put on this bracket here. So I had it on, got to take it off again, and once I've got it on, I'll put on the other bracket on top of it, join the two together and give the engine a quick spin, I think. So I've put everything back together. There was nothing complicated about it except for thinking about it and doing it in the right order. I believe everything's tight. I haven't put the cover back on yet because I'm going to start the engine. Let's see if it works. It's in neutral. What you're supposed to check is this tensioner down here at this point. So let's see if I can see that at all. It looks like the thing is lined up with the notch. It's impossible to show to you. Yeah, it looks like it's lined up again, so I'm just pushing it with my thumb and it looks like it's lining up, so that's alright. I'll put the top cover back on. I'm going to vacuum out here. There was a noise proofing under that cover and it's gone since, well, before I got it. So I'll put that back on. All in all today, this was a long job for me. Like I said at the start, somewhere between idiot and novice. It's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon now, and I started this much earlier, more like 10 o'clock. I stopped for an hour when I couldn't get that pulley off and spent a bit of time reading about it. That was the auxiliary belt pulley on the crankshaft. In the end it needed a lot of beating. I showed you the tail end of that, but like I tried it with the air hammer first, with the air chisel first. It didn't budge it, and in reality it might have if I'd kept going, but a brass hammer is probably better for it because I thought I was going to do damage. I didn't want to do damage, and it's an old crappy car, you know, there's nothing special about it. I wonder, is that writing? No, it's writing about where it was before. You see in there? Looks like it's off to one side of the pulley. But it looks to be where it was, where the old one was, so I'm not going to worry about it. I'll get this cover back on here, get the cover back on top. Yeah, about 6 hours, an hour for that, and then I wasted a good half hour taking this, because I hadn't put the lower cover on down there. Because I hadn't put the lower cover on, I have to take off this bracket again, and it's just fiddly. There's nothing, it's not complicated, it's just fiddly. And the other thing was that I wasn't satisfied the first time I checked the timing, with the checking the locking pin, the timing mark and all that. And that was just me being pedantic, and I probably faffed around for another half hour doing that, tensioning the belt again. So I've seen it online that you could do it in 3 hours. I'd say if I did it again, I could possibly do it in 3 hours, 2 hours, 2.5, that kind of thing. Some guy said he could do it in 45 minutes. You know, if you do it every day, you should be able to do it in 45 minutes or an hour, I'd say. If you're, you know, if the same thing's coming into your garage, you know what to do, you know what tools you need. But like, I'm pretty messy on tools, and this is where I've tidied up here, you know, and got all my sockets up there. But you go in and you take one out and you can't find it and you don't know which one it is, and then you end up, you know, trying a few things. So stuff takes time, but a job gets done. So we've got a timing belt on the car. Car's, what did I say? I think it's 16 years old or thereabouts. I'll probably never do the timing belt again on this car. Famous last words, but I may not do it again. I don't really want to do it again. That's for sure. Okay, there you go. I'm glad it's done. Thanks for watching. Any questions or comments, leave them below. I'll post some links below as well to Amazon. If you buy stuff, I get money. See you later.